Sometimes when you apply a map, it doesn't work out the way you want it to. And so this is one way to adjust it. It's an easier way. So my little character here has the map applied to him, and it worked out great, and I could live with that. But maybe I'm looking for something else, okay? So what I'm going to do is come over here to make sure he's selected. Come over here to my Modify tab, and under my modifiers, I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom until I get UVW map. UVW map modifier, okay? UVW. And I'm going to apply that. Now, you're going to see that you have some mapping parameters that you can change. This one's planar. This is what happens to the character. Actually, let me do this. Let's see it a little better. I kind of like that. That's actually kind of cool. This is what happens if I change it to cylindrical. This is what happens if I change it to spherical. Now, because he's not a sphere or a cylinder, if you were, those might be easy fixes for things that aren't working for you. You might just go in and say, well, I've got a sphere. Let me apply the UVW map modifier and change it to spherical, and that could fix any wrinkles you have. Shrink wrap. And I like that best. And that's the one that I'm going to go with for this. However, box, that's cool. Now, you see the line right here? That is a seam, and that was not a seamless texture map. If it was, that seam wouldn't be there. And those are the things you want to avoid because it creates disharmony, right? You want that to be unified, and it's not. I actually really like that one were it not for that seam. Face didn't work for me, and this is XYZ to UVW didn't work for me. So I'm going to go back to shrink wrap, okay? Now, I can make additional changes to that map here with length. Now watch what happens when I change length. It moves the pattern on the object so that maybe I can make adjustments to where things are falling. And in this case, that might work for me. Okay, I can adjust the width, which makes it wider or thinner, which I'm going to do. And I can also adjust the height. Now, you also have tiling down here, and you can make adjustments to that. So what that does is it changes, it scrolls through and changes how many tiles there are. Okay? One means there's one tile. Fractions mean there are multiple smaller tiles, or I'm sorry, bigger tiles, and larger numbers, I'll show you this is positive and negative. Oh, that's cool. Might want to change that. Okay, so you can play around with these numbers to make adjustments to your map to get it to fit and scale an object in a way that works best for you. Let me set this back to 1. I liked where it was. Now you have some other things down here, and those are really, really complex. Okay, so that UVW map is one way to get a map to adjust on an object if it isn't working properly. And so now when I render this out, I now have my modified pattern showing up on my caterpillar. So it's interesting in here, my caterpillar is shiny, and I don't want him to be. Well, the next thing, I'm going to scroll up the base here. So we move to specular. Specular is how shiny it is, and by default, it's set at 100%. So to remove that, you want to, I didn't get rid of it there, but when I render it out, it won't be. You want to remove it by changing it to 0. Specular are the highlights, and so that controls the shininess of your object. Okay. You can also control the color. Right now you see it's white on the object. That's because it's white here. You can change that color. You can adjust what's called the metalness of it. when you increase this number, it starts to look more metallic. It changes the look to become more like metal, which makes it softer. And if you hover over any of these, one of the great things about this, if you hover over any of these, they will tell you what they are. IOR stands for index of refraction. Oops. And so you can also see it change on the ball up here. You see how it looks more metallic at 1%? And I bring that down. There's no metalness about it at all. So in this case, let me apply metalness and render out my cute little character again. And we don't have lights in here, but he looks more metallic than he did before. Lights will really emphasize this. I like that. I'm going to leave that. Keep that. Okay. Internal reflections. This works for, you can turn this off for objects that are solid. This works for objects that are hollow, like glass balls or windows or things that you are translucent in some way so that you can see through them. So we'll turn that off. Indirect specular is the light that bounces. You can reduce that. Now you see the shine is completely gone. So this number and this number controlled the fact that that was shiny. So whenever you're working with an object and if it's shiny and you don't want it to be, under specular, turn off general and turn off indirect specular, and that will get rid of it. Now, let's see. I probably, because it's metallic, I want to bring some of that back. I may want to bring all of it back. Let me render it out and see how it looks. Yeah, see, that's a little too, I don't know. I'm kind of torn. I'm going to put some of it back. I'm not going to put all of it back, but I'm going to put some of it back. Let's go with 80%. Okay, 75 is good. Okay, and so that allows me to create that metallic look on my object. Whoops. Transmission is how transparent it is. Okay, by default it's set to 0. If I increase this number, my object begins to become see-through. Let's see. It's not establishing it there. Let me render it out and show you. Well, for some reason it did not apply. Not sure why. Let me try different. Let's try a different one. Okay, I'm going to come over here to this one. And I'm going to trash what's there. Yes, I want to reset. Physical material. Arnold. Surface. Standard surface. There we go. It just didn't want to work on the other one because of the map, I guess. It should have worked, but it didn't. Okay, and you see how that's now see-through, completely see-through? I don't think I have anything in this scene to make see-through. But what transmission does is it allows light to transmit through the object. So at 100%, it's like glass or water. And at 0, it's completely opaque. And that's what it allows you to do. And now you go in somewhere in between. And thin-walled has to do with objects that have backlighting on them. So you would check that if you wanted light to shine through an object. Let's see, some of these are really expand. Scatter is what happens once light enters inside the object. How does it scatter around in terms of color? Okay. And so that is how you make things transparent. It's really interesting. It should have applied to this, but it didn't. I should have been able to give him a map and make him see-through. But yeah, that's it right there. Let me see. I'll apply it to, well, I can apply it to the petals. And you just so you can see what happens to an object. So the flower has now been applied, and I'm going to change the color. Okay, and so now when I render this out, oh, I didn't apply it, did I? Thought I did. Yeah. There we go. Okay, so now when I render this out, oh, I rendered the wrong scene. Ooh, that's cool from the side, isn't it? Try it again. You'll see that that material, yeah, now my flower is made from glass and it's see-through. You can see through it. That's pretty cool, actually. The colors don't work at all, right, because we got all these different colors going on, but that's pretty cool. And so that's transmission. And you want to apply that glass, water. And contrary to popular belief, if you're going to use this for water, you're going to want to make the water black, dark gray, dark blue. And I'll show you why when we start working with that. And not blue. I'm not saying you don't make it blue, but it's just kind of surprising to people when they find out. Now, you see how long it's taking to render that out? And that's because what 3D Studio Max does, and one of the reasons it's amazing, is because it does ray tracing. And what it does is it allows a light to, it follows a ray of light that bounces through an object, and that's why it creates something so realistic. Okay, we're going to continue this in the next video.